Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Goten, here at the Avengers Shoot podcast, and welcome back. Um, I apologize for there to be no um Raw. There's no Raw review show. I was one completely ejected my sleep schedule, so I missed Raw, and two trying to fix my sleep schedule, which I'm still working on. But that doesn't mean I couldn't catch. I managed to catch NXT and the highlights of AEW. So we're gonna talk about them. I want to make sure I at least caught that because that's what most people are probably, care more about than Raw or SmackDown nowadays. Maybe not. Maybe they do. Maybe I guess it varies person to person. But we'll go and get right into it. Stop rambling on. We're gonna start with NXT this week. We'll get to the big match, one of the first big matches. The number one contenders ladder match. It was Io Shirai, Dakota Kai, Tegan Nox, Mia Yim, Candice LeRae, and Chelsea Green. This was a good match. Kai and Nox constantly, fought with Diaz, right? I don't know how to say her first name. The big lady that looks like, that's pretty much the Diesel to Dakota Kai's Shawn Michaels. She kept helping Dakota Kai stay in the match, even if Nox constantly going after her. LeRae and Shirai had their stuff. Chelsea Green, I guess, was kayfabe injured or something at one point, so Robert Stone, or if you know him from Impact or the Indies, Robbie E., had to help her constantly, which is a fun thing. But ultimately, Io Shirai won after knocking down Candice LeRae. That's probably the right decision. I was going to say the only realistic decisions since Charlotte's champ now was Shirai or maybe Yim, because everyone else has their own thing, and Chelsea Green's fairly new. And I want to get this out of the way right now. It is storming where I live, so I'm gonna try to minimize background noise from that. But if you do hear it, I know I do. But I guess we'll see if the mic picks it up in post. I apologize. There's not much I can do right now. If I didn't record this tonight and get it out tomorrow morning, nobody would watch it anyway, because nobody watches results shows if they're not out by the next morning. Let's be honest here. And if you are watching on YouTube, be sure to support on Spotify. If you want to, support us for free, if you watch on YouTube, maybe just put it on in the background on Spotify, or maybe just listen to it once. You do you, man. But if you watch on Spotify, we get, if you want to support us, that actually pays us with our 25-cent budget. So there's that. But moving on, I'm done doing shameless plugs. Well, let's get back to NXT. Finn Balor, it showed a partial replay of his match with, I believe, Alexander Wolf from NXT UK, and he had a message for Walter that he wants to take his title, yada, yada, yada. That match is going to be phenomenal. Who knows when it will happen, because TakeOver in Ireland, the NXT UK TakeOver in Ireland, or whatever, got pushed to, I think, October, I believe, or somewhere around there. So I'm obviously not going to drag it out that long. So I assume it'll take place on NXT UK, maybe NXT, because it's a bigger audience, way bigger audience since it's on TV. But we'll have to wait and see. Next up, we had the in-ring debut of Indus Sher, I think that's how you say their name. They took on Ever Rise, which is kind of like a jobber tag team, I'll be honest. That's immediately what I thought of them. I know Ever Rise has been on a couple times. I just haven't watched them. Haven't watched their matches, but yeah, they seem to just be a jobber team. Indus Sher, they're two big beefy boys. With Malcolm Bevins is his name, right? It's good. I like them so far. They're, your typical big guys tag team, but NXT's missing one. You always have to have one. Let's be honest. Every major promotion has at least one. So I mean, it's good to see new tag teams in NXT, because that's the worst part. That's the weakest part of NXT is their tag team division. The only really notable tag teams right now is the Broserweights, Mustache Mountain when they come over, Undisputed Era, Orkin and Birch get a decent thing every now and again, and the Grizzled Young Veterans when they come over. NXT UK tag teams pretty much, and then 3 tag teams. That's pretty much how it is. 3 additional tag teams after that. So it's good there's some other teams, getting a little bit of exposure into. Sure. I'm sure they'll challenge the Broserweights for the tag titles at some point, which will be a fine match. I don't expect them to beat the Broserweights. I think the Broserweights going to hold the titles for a while the NXT builds up the rest of its tag team division. But this was fine. The finish was hilarious to me because the not legal member of Indusure. I didn't catch their specific names. The smaller one. That makes me sound terrible, I know. But he was not legal, but he got the pin, which is funny. But yeah, they won. They destroyed Everrise pretty much. They got a little bit of offense in, but Indusure dominated them. Next up, Adam Cole had a little thing. A quote-unquote message for Velveteen Dream. That's what WWE called it. It was, it's just building up their match that Cole will probably win because I don't see them giving Velveteen the title unless it's in front of a crowd. But they might still just do it anyway since Cole's already the longest reigning champ, and that's probably what they're waiting on. So, it is what it is. It'd be cool. Velveteen is NXT champ. Whatever. Next, Charlotte Flair. They had a relive Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley thing, plus at one point, I think it was at WWE.com after. Or maybe during the show, and I just missed it and watched it after. They had Charlotte and Rhea's reactions. This just supports why I absolutely hate Charlotte. Not even go away. Well, I guess you can call it go away heat. I'm just tired of Charlotte. This is going to turn to a mini Charlotte rant. Charlotte's an 11-time champion at this point. Literally 2 of her championship reigns actually have mattered. Her first Raw Women's title reign, 3. Her NXT Women's title reign, which they're counting NXT Women's titles only for her when they talk about title reigns like that, which is hilarious. Good job, WWE. Act like people wouldn't notice that. Act like we're stupid. Continue to do so, Vince, until you perish or give up the company. Just give up the company. Give it the trips. Charlotte she's had 3 decent title reigns, and the last one was in 2016. The rest of her title reigns since then have been decent. There was one, her first I think it was her first SmackDown Women's title reign where she won it from Natalya. She went on to defend against Austin. That reign was okay, but every other reign lasted a month or 2 or less. She literally held the title for 3 weeks last year before Mania because she beat Asuka a couple weeks before Mania, then dropped it, then won it, then dropped it. Although the cash in, I guess that one's not exactly, it was expected. Then she won it back from Bayley, I think in October or September, somewhere around there, before Survivor Series, and then Bayley won it back the following SmackDown. And then, she had her 4 separate reigns when their feud of Sasha in 2016. Most of her reigns lasted a month or less, and that's just sad. None of those reigns matter. It's just because WWE wants her to have 16 title reigns before she retires, but she's probably got at least another 10 years. She's gonna be at least 30-time champ by the time she retires. Nobody's gonna ever top that again unless she has a daughter. It's honestly sad. If she had 12 decent title reigns, or 16, let's say she had 16 decent title reigns and then retired, whatever. At least if their title reign, she had at least 1 or 2 memorable matches and memorable moments from each reign, whatever, man. They all lasted a couple months, whatever. But she has, I'm going to assume it's 11. I think it's 11 reigns now with this most recent reign. 11 reigns, and I only remember 4 of them. I remember anything from them. Ironically, they were all with different championships. But that's just terrible. And then the Rhea's reaction to their match was just crying and saying she was better than I thought. Rhea should have retained 100%. That's the second dumbest booking decision at Mania. The first was Becky retaining, but this was the second worst, in my opinion. Because this is the way they had the stars react to it. Charlotte's makes sense because she's a heel, but Rhea crying, that's Rhea Ripley. She's literally been the badass character that you've built up since Survivor Series, even before Survivor Series. Build her up and going into Survivor Series and take over War Games. Then her team won at War Games, and she won for NXT in the women's triple threat Survivor Series match. Then she beat Shayna in a fantastic match in December, and she's been a badass since. but she loses to Charlotte and cries. Like, it's a dumb decision, but I'm gonna move on from it. We're gonna move on. We're getting to the main event, the Black Heart versus Rebel Heart, one final beat. That's what it has been dubbed. Fun little name for it. Gargano versus Ciampa. Supposedly the last match. Definitely after how it ended. Probably not the last match. So it was fine. It went like an hour or so. It went a while. And they were like in just like a dark arena. It was fine. I mean, everybody, Bleacher Report gave it an F grade. I wouldn't go that far. It's not as anywhere near as good as the rest of their matches, but like it is what it is. Gargano Ciampa matches would definitely benefit from a crowd. They always definitely benefited from a crowd. A crowd made Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa any of the matches. If we're being honest, without a crowd, those matches would be okay at best. That's nothing to fault the two guys. It's just the way their matches worked. They needed a crowd to really be like super exciting. But ultimately, it came down to Candice LeRae interfering for some reason, low blowing Johnny, but then low blowing Ciampa and revealing Gargano had a cup on. So that's funny. That was a fun little thing. Then Gargano won. So there's that. So it's definitely not going to be the end of their feud. So Killer Cross is going to somehow interfere as well. Yeah, there's two ways I could see that happening. Either Cross becomes like Gargano's bodyguard, which would be fine, I guess, but you already kind of have that sort of situation with Dakota Kai and the big lady that's with Dakota. I can't say her name. That's not even meant to be a gag. I just can't say her name. I can't pronounce it. Whenever I had to like sit there and think about it for a couple minutes. I'm not going to do that during the podcast. But either that or he'll be in a quote-unquote psycho team with Ciampa, which could be fun stuff, or neither, and he could just feud with Ciampa, and that's how they finally end Gargano-Ciampa. So Ciampa moves on, and Gargano does things as a heel. There's multiple ways that can happen, which NXT overall was fine. I would give it like a B+. The women's ladder match was great. Balor's message to Walter's fine. Cole's message to Dream is fine. They're like nothing special. It's stuff you would expect. Indusher looked good in their squash. There's only 3 matches, I just realized. The Charlotte Flair versus Rhea stuff sucked. Be honest. Probably because it's Charlotte. I don't know. I have the same go away heat that Harpo has for Becky. He absolutely hates Becky and will call any match he's in trash automatically. I won't go that far. Charlotte's a great wrestler. It's just WWE's ruined her, and I'll never care for any reign she has or anything she does because of WWE just Vince or whoever's decision is to keep giving her just random title reigns that end a month later. Will her current reign at the NXT Women's title end anytime soon? Probably. I'll be honest. I don't expect Charlotte to be on NXT for more than maybe like. So let's see, TakeOver, either the next TakeOver or TakeOver Brooklyn if it's Brooklyn this year. I don't actually remember what the SummerSlam. I don't know if SummerSlam is taking place in Brooklyn this year or not. I had to look. That's as far as I see her holding the title and staying on NXT. And then Rhea's kind of, I wouldn't say she's ruined, but like this definitely damaged her a little bit at the very least. But that's NXT. We're going to move on to the other half after the sponsor. Good old Anchor, of course. And I'm going to go ahead and open up these podcasts to your guys' thoughts. So on the next episode, I'm going to have the link in the YouTube version of this podcast. I can't do it on Spotify, I'm sorry. And on our Twitter to send in your own voice little clips of your thoughts on AEW and NXT. On the next podcast, I will take some time, probably somewhere in between like topics, and let you guys give your thoughts. If there is any, of course. I mean, you guys can send them. You don't have to. I mean, it's just something fun I want to do. I'll do it from time to time, I'm sure. I'll see you guys after the break. And we are back with some AEW shenanigans. So we'll go ahead and get into it. It started off with a Lance Archer squash, which is an interesting way to start it. I would have swapped this in the next match, but Archer, Jake the Snake came out, cut a promo as usual, building up Lance Archer. He squashed the guy. Simple as that. Not much to say here. I guess we'll just move on. Britt Baker versus Hikaru Shida. This match, man. From what I saw, let's see. Chris Jericho was on commentary and making all sorts of references and stuff, which is fun. This match was interesting. Britt Baker got busted open, was bleeding like crazy, so that was fun. Hikaru Shida was doing her thing. Britt Baker tried to like log in some submissions and stuff while bleeding. That's always fun. But ultimately, Hikaru Shida was able to win with a knee, running knee, and get the 1, 2, 3. Haha. This was a fun match. I enjoyed it. From what I saw. It was fun. Not much more to say about it without just being like, oh, she was bleeding like crazy. This definitely elevates Hikaru and Britt Baker a lot, though. I could see either of them challenging Nyla Rose for the AEW Women's title, which I'd like to see. Maybe a triple threat. That could be fun. Honestly, that'd be great. But definitely, I could see at least Hikaru Shida, with beating Britt Baker here, being the next challenger for Nyla Rose. There's anyone else I really have in mind that could be the next challenger, so it makes sense. It'd be a great match, and I kind of want to see it. So AEW should totally run that at some point. So AEW, do that. Cool, thank you. But we'll go ahead and move on here to Jake Hager versus John Moxley. They had a sort of video to build up their match. I believe next week for the AEW title. That's going to be great. I will be doing NXT and AEW results next week because it looks like Cold Dream might happen next week. I'll have to double check, or the week after. So either way, there's going to be some big match next week on NXT, I'm sure. And Moxley versus Hager will be fun. So there's that. It was a great promo video to build up both guys. Obviously, Moxley should retain. But AEW is honestly, if I had to give my opinion on this, AEW is doing way better in terms of carrying stories and stuff than NXT is. Although NXT has had a lot of great matches the last couple weeks because, they're playing all their takeover matches on NXT pretty much. That's the way it's working, which is fine. I mean, it is what it is. That'll keep them covered for like another week or two. Actually, probably just next week if they run Cold Dream. I think that's probably the last one they had in mind. So there's that. But, it's fine. We'll go ahead and move on, though. The Best Friends took on Kenny Omega and Michael Nakazawa. I'm sorry, I didn't say it 3 times. Nakazawa. Funny. There you go. Sorry, I can't make it loud. I can't yell Nakazawa. Because it is currently 2 a.m. Because I wanted to watch NXT in full and catch at least majority of AEW through highlights and stuff. This was a fun match. I mean, it was fine. The one weird thing, though, was Kenny Omega came out with his AAA Mega title, but not his AEW Tag title. He's half of the tag titles, which is kind of weird. You think if he's going to come out with the Mega title, he'd still come out with the tag title as well. But it is what it is. Maybe he just forgot it at home. I don't know. Or in a hotel room or wherever he is. Wherever he's staying. But the Best Friends actually got the episode victory here. This was a fine enough match. Kenny Omega and Michael Nakazawa. I feel like AEW doesn't know how to work that sort of companionship because it was fun, but like I feel like they could do a lot more fun stuff. Judging off New Japan, they can do more of that, but probably shouldn't because they need to focus on Omega and Hangman as the tag team champions and focus on their tag division. I will say NXT's weakest division is their tag division. AEW's is probably either the women's or tag team division, so NXT is at least doing something right. The women's, side. I think AEW is finally starting to work on at least their women's division, though. They've had at least one good women's match each this week and last week, so they're getting places. They just need to focus a bit more on it and improving women's division and tag team division. Because just one good match is a good start, but like you can't just have a good match and that's it for your women's division at today's day and age. Need to invest on it, and like story wise, I mean, good matches are good matches. I mean, you see so many nowadays. Like some blend in. That's what I'm trying to get at. You need to focus on the story side as well. But we'll go ahead and move on from that. We had everyone's favorite stuff, the Exalted One, and Dark Order. We had Brody Lee versus a jobber known as Lee Johnson. It's as much as you'd expect. Brody Lee destroyed him, hit him with the clothesline. This clothesline destroyed him. Yeah, it was fun. Lee won, obviously. This was fun. I am excited to see where they take the Dark Order and Brody Lee, the Exalted One, from here. There's not a I don't have an idea of who they might like feud with specifically. Might be more just building up Brody Lee as like a cult leader of the Dark Order. Like the fun stuff last week. Might just do that for a little while. Double or Nothing is coming up in I believe May or June. Like it's coming up in the next couple of months. I don't know if there's an exact date or not. I haven't been keeping up on that. I'll be 100% honest on that. But I'm sure Brody Lee will have a match on that card. Possibly, maybe with like Cody could be an interesting one, but I assume he'll probably face Darby if they're still feuding by then. Maybe Omega, but Omega's got tag titles to defend. It's kind of hard to see who he'd feud with unless the Dark Order would try to capture the tag team titles. I guess we'll just have to wait and see because I have no idea where they're going to go with Dark Order. It's AEW though, so there's a pretty high chance it'll be at least entertaining content. We're just like I said, we'll just have to wait and see. But moving on to the main event, it was Cody versus Shawn Spears. This was fine. This is technically a rematch from All Out way back in August. And it was fine. Shawn Spears actually got a lot of offense in, but Cody had to fire babyface comeback and eventually was able to get the win with the Crossroads, so meaning he'll move on to the TV title tournament. I assume we'll get Darby and Guevara next week. Darby will presumably win that. So we get Darby versus Cody soon in the TV title tournament, which would be great. And I'm sure I would hope Darby wins and goes on to win this TV title because he deserves that. He's been fantastic since AEW started. And it makes sense to make him the first TNT champion. Sorry, not TV champion. Same difference, but it's a TNT title. I could definitely see him being the first champion. Be a great first champion. Young up and comer, push him. He's not on the world title level, but he's a champion, and he's sort of like the workhorse champ, you would say. Any TV title is typically like a workhorse title or a jobber title. For being honest, looking back at history. Although since AEW's their only mid-card title would be the TNT title, you'd have to call it the workhorse title, especially if he defends it somewhat frequently. We'll have to see, though. That's obviously a little bit in the future. They're just now starting the tournament, so we'll have to wait and see. But I want to thank you guys for listening to me, for some reason, rant about NXT and Charlotte Flair and AEW. I'm hoping to have a SmackDown results show, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to or not. And I'm hoping to have Harpo on for some fun shenanigans on the podcast and some other people on. A couple I have in mind, so hopefully that works out. But in the meantime, take care, and I'll catch you guys for the next episode of the Avengers Shoot podcast.